Welcome. Thank you for joining us, DJ Rami and DJ Mercy, for a great Divine Love Bliss radio show. Today's topic is going to be oneness, and it's February 28th, 2017. Rami.
Hello, everyone. We're going to talk about not just oneness, but also touch on separation and diversity. So let's make this a very practical show today, Mercy. I'm going to start, and I will take you out of your comfort zone and bring some tension in your life by giving you a little challenge.
Oh, goody.
Can you think of an object or symbol that best describes what oneness is and how it works?
You know, when you say that, my first symbol that comes in would be like different particles that become one. You know, like a little flame or three flames that become one. I'm seeing, because I'm very visual, is when everything clicks together and the little pieces become one. That's how I see the symbol.
Why would you say flames?
I don't know. It just came up as flames.
Well, Well, it's interesting because your main point about oneness is the clicking or the coming together of different parts.
Right.
Well, my symbol for oneness, or when I think of oneness, I think of a camera. A camera has different functions, including a zoom. Mm-hmm. My consciousness, or the way my mind operates, is like a camera. The scope, or how wide the angle is what oneness is to me. Mm-hmm. Is my scope of oneness limited or expanded to include all? The zoom function, or the adjustment, is love. Love mm-hmm. determines the scope of oneness. If I have limited love, I will have limited oneness. Infinite love brings about infinite oneness. So the question is, which is more natural? Is it limited or infinite oneness? Nobody exists independently, and I am connected to everything. The sun shines on me, trees take in the air, I exhale, the water I consume flows to the ocean and returns to me as rain. Because I am connected to everything, I cannot claim anything as exclusively mine. There's no such thing as mine alone. But I can claim ownership of all. So it is safe to say all is really what I am. Thinking in terms of infinite oneness is more natural than thinking in terms of limited oneness. What do you think, Mercy?
And yet we have a habit of thinking of limited oneness versus the expansive oneness, right?
That's right.
The mind works. The mind works from the limited side of the house, because as a human being, if we would have a mind that's so expanded with the all, it would be hard to make a living, I guess, I would think.
That's true. And the reason why we have a limited consciousness is also for individuality. Meaning to say, we came from a soup, and then here in the 3D world, we learned individuality, and then on our way back, we bring that individuality with us and return to a more oneness consciousness. So I have another question for you, Mercy.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, since God created everything, let's go and ask God. Now, Mercy, I ask you, be the heart and mind of God. So as God, can you tell me the origin of oneness? What's your view on this?
Hmm. You know, from the heart of God of mine, as he moves and expresses himself, as he expanded and created, it was to see himself, you know. When we expand and create outwardly, what we're showing is what we have inside for us to see ourselves. That's how I
Well, I agree with you. And I think the origin of oneness is a divine paradox. In our previous Divine Love Bliss radio show on the divine masculine and feminine, I mentioned God's heart wants to love, experience love, generate love, fill the universe with love, just as He said, experience one another. Now, while God's mind designed the divine masculine and the feminine to generate love, meaning to say you need opposites, individuals to come together. So oneness is a divine paradox because God, in order to experience love, must separate into two so one can experience the other. And yet, the point of separating is to become one again and generate love. Mm-hmm. So tell me, how does separation feel like to you? How do you know that there's separation in you?
When I am in separation from a more earthly point of view, I'm not as joyful. I'm more fearful. Excuse me. I am, it's almost like when we're feeling off and we don't know what it is, right? We don't have nothing going on in our life that makes us be fearful, but yet we are not quite joyful or happy. We're like looking for that compass, North Star, that makes us fulfilled. And that's what I would call, on an earthly basis, what it feels to be separated.
Do you easily catch your separations?
Not necessarily. I would say that at this stage, I'm more aware after 17 years of working with my inner work. But, sometimes life catches in a wave of activity and you start, you're like almost in an automatic mode of resolving problems, of getting things done. And before you know it, it takes you a while to realize that you're not happy and that you're not fulfilled or you're not joyful. And at times, even a health crisis comes your way to stop you, to let you know that there's something that you're missing. You're not listening to your own inner voice. And thus, it's not always that obvious.
Well, I think that's one good thing to look at when you're not feeling joyful, you're not feeling great about things. I have a box of rubber band in my drawer. So one day, I started playing with rubber bands in my office while working. So oneness, to me, is like a rubber band. So if you get a rubber band, hold it with your thumb and finger, using your other hand, pull on one end until you feel a tension. And then slowly release the tension and allow the rubber band to bring your fingers closer. You can do this several times if you want to study and understand oneness. And you can begin with one rubber band and keep on adding another. I like playing with 5 rubber bands to get a feel of the tension separation brings.
Wow.
So whether I dislike someone or I yearn for someone, separation has a tension or a thickness similar to pulling the ends of a rubber band. In fact, yearning for someone can bring about what we call sexual tension. So any separation causes tension, whether you're in love or you hate somebody. As within, so without, so any tension inside me is projected outward and becomes part of my reality, which you just said makes me feel sad and, things are just not going right. So
Right.
tension inside projects all sorts of experiences on separation with a loved one, a family member, a colleague, my community, and the world at large. So that's, for me, that's one way to spot a separation. It is that kind of tension. So for all the listeners, go and get a box of rubber band and start playing.
A disclaimer: we do not be careful with your snapping, of the rubber band.
Mercy, when there is separation in you, how do you practice oneness or unifying? What do you do?
The easiest for me is to take some deep breath, set a few seconds, a few minutes. If I cannot do a meditation, if I not, I look for a prayer that helps me reconnect to my heart or reconnect to the faith that I have in God. Reconnect to that, the part of you that knows peace. And so sometimes I've used just a simple Our Father's prayer. At times, of course, now I use the Zion prayer to tune me into my awareness. There are more than this chaos around me, for example. And take some deep breath. For me, the deep breath is very soothing. It gives me awareness of just take time out, and then it's almost like things starts to move into an orbit that is more palpable or malleable. And all of a sudden we start seeing results or brainstorming solutions. So if I'm in that journeying or feeling sometimes even desolate or disheartened, I look for the practice that brings me the quickest, the awareness that I'm more than that situation at that moment. So that's how I do it. It depends on, of course, me. I've talked about music. I may just put a music. I may just put my headphones on and put some music on so I can tune into music versus what is going on outside of me. And that also helps me a lot. It shifts my body too. What about you, Rami?
I'm going to quiz you on music later, but before that, when I get to when I'm in a conversation with people and we talk about problems, it's very common. I find out that people realize that there are separations, they feel that they can't do anything about it, and that's very understandable because I came from the same place, where I thought there's nothing to be done. I mean, life is such, and you just accept these things until I learned how to mend separations, and it came to a point that it would always be what I would do, or it's second nature, that once I feel this tension, I start working on it. As I go through my day, I'm walking and I'm working on separation. I'm driving, I'm working on separation. I'm working and I'm still working on separation at the same time. But first, I have to be aware that there is separation. That's very important. Hence, the rubber band, make it 5. So all throughout my day, I pay attention to any tension I am feeling because I know that I can do something about it, and because the result or the effect would be, a better experience for me, an experience of oneness, as within, so without. And because I play with rubber bands, identifying and dealing with tension caused by separation is fairly easy for me nowadays. My first response is to let go of the tension, and from there examine what is causing the separation. When examining, I ask a lot of questions. but this time coming from a more neutral space, no longer with that rubber band pulling tension. So I ask, what is this? What am I feeling? Who are you? What are you trying to tell me? What can I learn from all this? I just keep on asking questions. At the same time, I listen to answers. And then I find my way around it and see how I can bring about oneness instead of parts of me not talking to each other, not agreeing.
Mm.
And so I highly recommend playing with rubber bands. So Mercy, when there is separation between you and a significant other, how do you practice oneness?
That's even harder, huh? That's even harder because all the all the emotions of the reasons and justification, I'm using the word justification for a purpose, of who is right, who's wrong, why are we in this separation, comes to influence the keeping of the tension, right? And so we think we want union, and a lot of times we are enjoying the tension and are having a little bit harder time to get to the oneness because we're not aware that a part of us is liking the tension. And like many know, we we know that when there's two lovers quarreling, right? The makeup lovemaking is greater than the regular lovemaking, and that's because there was so much tension, there was separation, and that tension and separation makes that oneness even more delicious. And so depending on who is the person that you are having a separation with, if it's my husband, there's different tensions, right? If it's friends or a family member, it always has an edge of disheartening. It has an edge of maybe even for some of you, which I have gone through, an issue with self-worth, where we may question if we're worthy. We may even feel guilty of the separation. And sometimes that makes us also, that tension, not seek oneness. So the oneness journey is not as easy when we're having relationship problems, be it with the boss, be it with our family member, or with a associate or partner. We are coming in with a lot of mixture into this tension. We have the guilt, the not worthiness, the issues that we have of our internal separation with God start showing up in our separations with relationships. What about you, Rami?
Well, I understand what you're saying. Sometimes it's a matter of looking for where I am right so that the other can be wrong.
Right.
I mean, why can't we both be right? Or and then there's a case of after I say to myself or show myself that I am right, then I go out and try to fix the other person and tell the other person that you're wrong, and that causes more separation. So when there is separation between me and the significant other, or even not a significant other, but someone I deal with on a one-on-one basis, if the incident is happening right now, I call a timeout, or I try to remember to call a timeout to diffuse the tension, give it a little bit of release, and then I look for the separation inside me that I need to mend, restore, unite, called oneness restoration. Now, whatever it is happening out there is warning me about a separation within me. So once I am able to restore myself to oneness, mending the situation outside can be almost effortless. It seems like magic. So it's a different take on how we would approach issues. Instead of trying to fix it from the outside, try fixing it from the inside. Now, Mercy, when you witness separation among people you do not know, let's say the world at large, you read the news, or and then you see that we're almost at the brink of war, or when you open Facebook and you see separations on a heated political issue, how do you practice oneness?
Oh, that is, I'm going to start with Facebook. Facebook. It's been a great practice. I use Facebook for my inner work. Isn't it unbelievable? But Facebook allows me to see my separations. And here's how I work with Facebook. I started to notice maybe a year or two ago, but I started to notice that I would read people's comments and I would want to correct, or I wanted to make comments from my point of view, especially if the person had a point of view that I thought was so-called incorrect, right? Because we're thinking that we are correct and the other person is incorrect. And so I started to notice that I would start typing, because justification, right? You're wrong because this, or I was trying to put a point of view that maybe the other person had not seen. And so I was coming from the make justice on a point of view that's not fully expressed in truthfulness, maybe. And I would start typing. And then after I did maybe a paragraph, there was a little voice in me that said, Mercy, why are you typing all this? And I would look at it again, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, yeah, why am I typing this? And I start deleting, and I let it go. What I will tell you is it was not easy to let it go because what I started to notice, the habit that we have, the pattern that we have of wanting to correct the world from our point of view as if we have all the answers. And so we hear of someone posting in Facebook something that from your point of view, your thoughts is totally opposite. And you right away want to jump in and correct, or you just want to jump in and enlighten the person with your point of view. And it took me a while to not react that way. It took me a while to realize to, excuse me, that I would type and then I would start deleting and then I would not post, to the point of I see now whatever they post is their timeline, is their choice, is their Facebook, and why am I going to step in to try to correct something that did not need to be corrected? They're just expressing a point of view from this diversity that is oneness. So Facebook really was a good help for me to work on my own separations, why I want to fix everything. What's this archetype of the superhero that comes out unconsciously? And then the other one, of course, is watching the news. For 2 or 3 years, I didn't watch the news. I decided not to watch the news so that I could live in a world that was not pushed or interfered with. And I had a wonderful time. And then I decided, but that is exclusion, that is not being part of the world. So I started to put back news and work on how can I listen to the news and not be hooked to what the news wants me to be hooked onto. So now I started to use this year or this past year the awareness of listening to the news and where does the news of chaos take me, so that I can discover my own separations. So it's a great tool also, guys, to use for your own inner work, of using it as a mirror of what is your tension, where do you tend to go to when you hear news in the radio that are not good news, that are chaotic or that are sad. Where do your emotions, your inner self takes you to save the world, to correct the other person, to get mad, to get fearful? That's great indicators for us to go inside and start looking at our own separations. What about you, Rami?
I do the same thing. In fact, I have a 12 midnight habit of reading world news just to know what's happening out there. I also have a daily habit of scrolling down my Facebook wall and trying to see all the separations. And just like you, I was, the kind of person who would itch to correct somebody, to correct their views, enlighten them.
Me too.
But that's okay. I mean, we learn from these things, and the way I do it is I actually make judgments. I mean, that's pretty normal for us. We judge people, so go ahead and make a judgment. For example, we see a leader who is selfish or self-centered. Go ahead and entertain that judgment, and then flip it. So I make a judgment and I say he is selfish, and then I flip it to myself and I say I am selfish, and I try to find out in what ways I am selfish. And after I realize that I'm very much like him, we're both selfish, I flip it around some more, and I get the opposite of selfish, which is someone who gives too much. Mm-hmm. So in what way is this leader giving too much? Then I count the ways. And then for the last flip, I think of the many ways I myself give too much. In other words, by looking at all sides, him, me, and then the polar opposite of my judgment, then I say him and then me, then I see that I'm very much like him, and that if I do judge him, I do judge myself, and I come always to the conclusion that these things can all exist, side by side. And it is not my correcting the other person, but it is my being able to host all of the differences, this kind of diversity in me that brings me to a feeling or a being in oneness. And that is what is more important than going out there correcting people and trying to enlighten them.
Well, it's interesting because I was just talking to a friend last night. The character right now in the world, the archetype character that we have is a superhero. And we have the character of the superhero on the two opposite ends. The one that thinks that he alone is the only one that can correct and bring you into greatness. And then the other one that is saying we, you see, instead of I, we are the ones that can bring into oneness or into awareness, the enlightenment of the world, right? So it's an interesting subject right now to see oneness with such a world where we are right now two opposite ends looking at each other and talking from each point of view without seeing the full, right, the full scale of the coin. Or maybe two heads talking to each other, right? Heads and tails, trying to figure out the metaphor here. But it's a great time to really work on oneness. Right.
Well, it's great that you mentioned the archetype of the hero, because a good resource on archetype is Carl Jung. He has 4 major archetypes, and he also has sub-archetypes, one of which is the hero. The other is, the hero is the champion, the defender, the rescuer, and then there's a wise old man, which is guidance, knowledge, wisdom. The maiden is another, innocence, desire, purity. And then the 4th is the trickster, which is the deceiver, the liar, the troublemaker. So Jung was really one of those people who dug deep into archetypes, and it's a very good subject to study, because archetypes are a cross, meaning to say it is in the collective unconscious of everybody. I think there was Jung had a case where a man who grew up from a farm suddenly started having dreams of seeing buildings in a big city. So he wondered, where did all of these things come from? And he concluded that it came from the collective unconsciousness, which all of us are part of or connected to, or all our consciousness put together would be that. And part of the collective unconsciousness would be all of these archetypes that surface in our everyday lives, in the way that we judge people, the way we try to save people or correct them and enlighten them, and so on. And it's great to study archetypes for us to be more aware of what it is that we're experiencing. And by knowing that, we will be in a better position to bring ourselves to oneness or agreement, and allowing all of these things to exist in us in such a way that when we see it in others, there is now less judgment. And that's the beauty of looking within before going out and trying to fix things or bring others to oneness. So, Mercy, can you give a oneness exercise? Do you have a small exercise that you can share with our listeners so that they can better understand and practice oneness?
Well, I think we have been giving through our talk some hints on exercises they can do. But you know what, as you were talking, what popped in my mind is the exercise of putting yourself into someone else's shoes, right? So if you're having an issue with an individual, news, or anything that's the opposite of what you think is right, challenge yourself by going into the other side of the aisle, meaning putting yourself in their shoes and trying to see the world from their point of view. That brings a different awareness. And that reminds me when I was younger, and I would come to talk to my father about things happening in the world, or you start working and you see chaos at work. And he's also a good storyteller, and so he loves to talk and share. So we would just, I was just talking to him about, I can't believe these people, da-da-da, and he looked at me and said, Mercy, a story is not one-sided. A story has several sides. So did you look at all the sides of the story? And I thought that was enough for me to realize, I did not. I'm only looking at the side that's mine. And as simple as for those who may have challenges at work, this was one of the things that I would do. And in my work, when I was in corporate America, and I was a manager in a department, if I was having struggle with another department, what I did is I started to look at the problem from the other side, meaning if I was customer service, I would look at from the side of sales, let's say. Whatever the other department was that was having the issue with my department, I would go into their shoes and figure out where they were seeing, how they were seeing the situation, so I could look for a solution, so I could really understand both sides of the story. And I say sides because a story sometimes has the intricacy of being more than two-side story. So that's one of the exercises I would suggest. It's a challenging one, especially if we are into judging each other.
Well, you know, Carl Jung was an astrologer, and what you just described was actually Leo, which is the archetype of an actor. And it's very typical of Leo to want the spotlight on them. So we think that actors are so self-centered and it's all about me, 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 and the fame. But in reality, a good actor is someone who gets into the shoes of other people. And so there goes our judgment on actors being self-centered. And it's a very good exercise. The exercise that I will share combines both going to the shoes of other people, wearing their shoes, and expanding our consciousness of oneness, or the scope of oneness through love. So it's a very simple exercise. It takes, a little imagination. I want you to close your eyes, become aware of the people around you, the ones next to you, the ones next door, the ones driving down the street. Picture them in their homes or in office buildings, in factories. What are they doing? What are they thinking and feeling? Picture their hearts beating in their chests and blood flowing through their veins. Think about how they're breathing. Is it fast? Is it slow? Imagine you can see their nervous systems all lit up like a Christmas tree. And you can feel what they are feeling. You have to know what is affecting you is also affecting them, whether you are conscious of it or not. Now, being in oneness with many others doesn't happen only during big events like disasters or 911. It's always happening every second. So let's take a moment to sense how we are connected to each other right now. The illusion of individuality and separation keeps us from realizing we are really not that different from each other. And the illusion of separation is where judgment comes from. I am right or I am better if I can make you wrong. So instead of looking for what is wrong and different, find out what is the same. What do we have in common? Expand your consciousness to include not just a loved one, not just my children or my friends, but to include everyone else, the people I don't know, my community, my country, the world, the entire universe, until my consciousness is able to contain everything in it and able to host everything in it. Another exercise is to keep on remembering that we are all connected to one another like Siamese twins. Multiply that by 7 billion plus people all connected in such a way that if I try to slice, one person from me, it's as if I am slicing myself. And that is how connected we truly are. And it is a matter of realizing the oneness that we all share. What do you think, Mercy?
I think it's an awesome. I'm listening to you. I'm thinking that's an adventure. That's like what I try to encourage people when we're going through the Power of Your Amazing Story, is to see life as an adventure of experimentation. Like you say, your personal lab, right? There's nothing wrong in trying to figure out someone else's point of view. You don't have to be. It does not convert you into that point of view. It does not make you anything harmful. It makes you to be able to expand and understand greater points of view, right?
I agree. I think oneness is the new sexy nowadays.
It sure is. It is really. It's so full of opportunities, of creativity, of experimentation and adventure. And when you get into the rhythm of exploring oneness through this vast universe that is our daily life, it's just amazing. It's just pure joy.
I can't agree with you more. I mean, that's what oneness brings. You're correct. It brings out this bubbling kind of joy that it just keeps on going and going. I don't rely anymore on things outside to bring me this kind of joy that can only come from looking within and mending all our separations and having the right attitude when we consider other people and trying to expand our scope of oneness. To add to our DLB playlist, Mercy, can you name a song and artist that encapsulates the essence of oneness?
Okay, it's hard for me because from my point of view, I'm a storyteller. So any artist that is telling us a story captures me into the story. Because someone that is singing and has a good voice is singing from owning their kingdom, right? They're singing from the diaphragm. They're not singing from the throat. It's already a powerful tool that they're using, which is their singing. But I will say, I'll give you one, which is Diana Ross and the group Westlife, and is the song When You Tell Me That You Love Me. And I use that in my Alchemy of Love, because it has both the he and the she talking about their love. And when I listen to that music, it transports me to even singing this to God, feeling that oneness of Him through that music. So for me, one of them is that. I have a ton. I have a list now that every time I hear one, I put it in my playlist, and I put it into a category, and I look for the sensation that brings me into my, in my awareness of my body. And what do I respond to? Am I responding to the appeal and the sexiness of being one, of uniting with someone else, of uniting energies together as one? And so that's where I would I would say I would add to my playlist, to the DLB playlist.
Well, I invite everyone to build their own DLB playlist. Have a section for oneness. As you listen to songs, add it. If it's about oneness, keep on adding, and in time you'll have a lot of songs to listen to on oneness. The song that I would like to share was actually shared by Priscilla Wheeler. The title is "We Found Love." It's by Lindsay Sterling, Stirling, Venn Tribe. So go check this song on YouTube. Even the video is great, and the melody, it's wonderful. So add that to your playlist. I think we've reached the end of our show again, Mercy. I mean, time just goes so fast. Every time we do a show. Anything else that you can add on oneness?
Yes, I would like to add the little piece we have been talking about through the whole show, but just so that we can recap, oneness is diversity, and diversity is oneness. I think we started it with my explanation of little pieces that click together, right? And so I want to end with a reminder. If you're looking for oneness and you're not looking for the little pieces that become oneness, that is that diversity of oneness, then you may have a harder time finding oneness. So just keep in mind, oneness is everywhere. Oneness is in your daily life. It's in the challenges and the chaos. So explore, feel it, see what you can tell us, and write to us.
I remember the symbol that you gave, and that's why I asked what did the fire stand for. It's actually a symbol of called the triqueta or triskelion. So go and search for that symbol because it is a symbol of oneness. Before we close the show, Mercy, I just want to recite the silent prayer of the chosen people of God. This is the long version.
Okay.
So close your eyes. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. In the beginning was the light, and the light overpowered the darkness. In the beginning was the light, and the light overpowered the darkness. In the beginning was the light, and the light overpowered the darkness. And the light has chosen us. The hand of God delivered His chosen people to the promised land. Remind us, O Lord, of our covenant with you, for our hearts are crying out, Holy, holy, holy Lord God, Alpha and Omega. Make your chosen people one. Shield us from our enemies with the might and strength of the armies of angels of the heavenly hosts. Deliver us to the promised land. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. You may open your eyes when you're ready.
Thank you, Rami. That's wonderful. What a great end to our talk of oneness.
Well, thank you also, Mercy, for always being a good dance partner. And I truly enjoy doing our radio shows together. Until next time.
Okay, everybody, and hope you give us some of your comments in our DLB radio show. Where is it? DLB group, I think, is where we are posting this, right?
That's right.
Okay. See you soon.
Thank you, everyone.